We're all in it together.
Get into the local market here, Kerry, since you've been an inspector for the past 30 years or more in town. How has the material construction has changed over the years? Some of your sort of top things to pay for if you were to repair, renovate, or build a new house, and something to pay attention to.
Well, quality, there's some moving parts. And we think of, they don't build them like they used to, the good old days, and old growth trees fall. Of course, there were great builders in the 1950s and 60s, but of course, they were honest, good-hearted people. 98% of them are. And of course, there were people of low character. There are some great builders in Victoria, really skilled people. Job, a fabulous job. But of course, there's the continuum from unbelievable, pretty great, pretty good, questionable, and down the road. So there's good builders today, bad builders, good builders, same thing. That's equal. Material, it's some are better, some are worse. I was actually strongest, toughest, most durable houses were built in the 1950s and the 1960s. They're just so tough, so strong. They're filled with asbestos and stainless steel, and you just can't kill these buildings. They're so tough. And in the meeting earlier, I was mentioning that wood frame house construction around here evolves over time, of course. And interestingly, it almost increments. It's fairly easy to tell the difference. We can always see a 60s house and say, oh, that's a 70s house, that's an 80s house, that kind of thing. Well, and like any industry or profession, innovation is a part of professional life. Kind of shingle or wire or plumbing. Well, we don't really know in building if an innovation was a good idea or not
until about 15 years later.
10 or 15 years. That's when we find out. It's a long test period.
Correct.
And over the decades, there have been some dead ends, some detour, took the wrong road, or what the good ideas were, what the bad ideas were. And there's two ways, primarily, you can make a building more energy efficient. One, obviously, more insulation, and two, draft control, air leakage, we call it. The old story is with the old drafty farmhouses that cost a lot of heat. The windows are right; they're drafty houses that lose a lot of heat. So we really got onto this, sealing houses up. Insulation, we've always used, well, since the 60s, plastic vapor barrier. Sometimes it's called an air barrier. And we used to use 2 mil plastic, which is like saran wrap. And during construction, it's kind of fragile, and it would get little holes in it, and we'd staple it on, it would get tears, and we didn't really worry about it too much, it's fine. Then the energy efficiency came along, and they said, no, we want you to use 4 mil plastic, so it's completely still doesn't have holes in it. And caulked, sealed, glued together.
Correct. So that
the walls, the ceiling, everything. So the house becomes a big plastic bag. And then where there's a plug or a light switch in an outside wall, there's an electrical box. That's a hole in the vapor barrier. So they started making us put these little plastic boxes with a flange around it. And where the wire went through, we'd have dogs, children, cooking, laundry, showers, moisture producing, right? And there's some, over the months and years, humidity in the house getting higher and higher and higher. A particular kind of manufactured wood called OSB, oriented strand board. And it's particle board, kind of looks like chipboard and sensitive. Well, buildings are sheltered. The building's supposed to get wet so that we don't. So OSB board is not a good material. And it would get wet from the inside sometimes because this house is a plastic bag.
That's right.
Trapped full of moisture. Anyway, it became the leaky condo era. And some of the buildings that had real problems, we'd open up a wall and there'd be mushrooms growing inside the walls.
Brutal. Because
it's so damp and airtight and not breathing in. And if there's problems. So the idea was changing materials. So I've always said these 50s to 60s houses are so tough. And then clarify that by the observation that the difference in quality is the average house in the 50s and 60s is probably better than the average house in the 2000s. The worst houses in the 50s are not better than the best. The worst houses are better than the worst houses now. And the best houses now are actually better. I think a lot of foundations are now 25 or even 30 MPa, which is really strong. Extra reinforcing rod, ways of placing the rebar inside the concrete wall to maximize the advantage. Of course, energy efficiency. And it's become a building science. And we have indoor air quality and very sophisticated filtration and air exchange systems that work really well.
Correct.
Shingles in the 50s and 60s last 20 years. Now, average standard construction fiberglass lasts 30 years, 50% longer. That's pretty good.
What do you think of metal roofs, if we talk about it?
Metal roofs last forever, 60, 70 years, salt air and the corrosion. So inland, absolutely, metal roofs are just wonderful. I believe they cost 4 times more than a standard shingle roof. So a shingle roof is 20 grand, metal roof is going to be 60 to 80, which is a lot of money.
Correct.
But it's usually the last roof you'll buy. But if it lasts 30 years, man, that's a very reasonable. So your kids will be growing up and finished university and buying you a new house.